welcome to That's Based. You made it to the weekend. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days, brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends at Live 365, Chris Baker Radio, and of course, our sponsors at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED. You'll save 10% off your order. At the checkout, they have both the red and white wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED. Save 10% off your order at the checkout on the only wine that I know of that's been mentioned in a Vice News article about domestic extremism in the United States. One more time, it's Drink Blood of Tyrants, TYRANTS.com with the promo code BASED. You save 10% off your order at the checkout. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is here with us as always. How's it going this morning?
Good.
Killing it, crushing it.
Yes.
It's a great day.
Starting to do Christmas decorating.
Well, yes, she's getting the Christmas decorations up. I saw a news article the other day. Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida ordered all residents living on the base, you must take your Christmas decorations down until Thanksgiving. If you put them up, they gotta come down. We don't want to see them. It's Thanksgiving time. We separate the holidays individually here on this military base. So drop a comment on YouTube or Rumble, or let us know in the That Space with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group. When is it appropriate to start decorating for Christmas? When do you start telling people Merry Christmas? And when does the Christmas season really start and end for you? I'm interested to know. Well, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk to you guys about this week. We're going to be talking about the Epstein files, the MAGA Civil War, information on the Trump shooter. There's some interesting takes going on in the dating world. And as someone who's been really watching the dating world from the sideline for years now, I always find this amusing. It's like a train wreck that I'm not involved in. So it's kind of funny for me. Nobody's dead, so I can laugh at it and make comments from the sidelines. But it's always a good time when we talk about the dating game here. We need to bring some single people on to let us know what their dating lifestyles are like right now. Wouldn't that be an interesting segment if we did that? If we did a whole show where I interviewed like 5 different single people one-on-one, and I got to figure out what the hell is going on in their life. Wouldn't that be interesting? Not public figures. Maybe some are comics, maybe some aren't. I just figure out why these people are single, and maybe I will tell them what's wrong with them. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell them they're perfect. I will tell them how they can fix themselves, which is pretty much, if you break it down, that's all this show is. It's me insulting people, telling them what's wrong with their lives, whether it's a micro, like a person on an unsolicited advice segment, or in the macro, like what's going on in the country, and just telling you how to fix it, because as we all know, I have all the answers. I want to go on a little rant before we get into current state of the left here. I saw just boom, boom, boom news articles back to back to back in Omaha. So if you're not from Omaha, skip this part. We'll get over the little Heartland Hot Takes local news segment real quick here. The first one I saw was that the Streetcar Authority proposed, and I told you this was coming, drop another nickel in the Caleb was right jar. The Streetcar Authority proposed another $3.5 million to speed the production up. I told you that was going to happen. What do you mean $3.5 million to speed it up? We're going to try now? Is that what they're saying? $3.5 million more to speed it up. I told you, they're going to nickel and dime this city for every dollar they can scam out of us, and we're trapped in it. Everybody talked about McDonald was out of his mind for saying he wanted to buy us out of those contracts. Turns out that would have been the best thing this city could have done. Let me tell you, some of the best hands I've ever played in poker have been the ones where I folded, where if I could have doubled or tripled down on a decent hand that was beat on the river, but I didn't. I folded because I know I would have stuck with it and I would have lost a bunch of money. Sometimes the best hand you play is the one you fold. That's what we should have done with the streetcar. The next two I see are Omaha Public Schools is going to raise the property tax rates because they still can't pay their bills. They're not going to lay off people like in administrative positions that are sitting in these offices checking boxes and never actually interacting with, the kids that they're supposed to teach, but they will raise the residents' property taxes. And the last one is that OPPD, up until the turn of the decade, is going to raise your rates, if you're one of their customers, between 5 and 9% every single year through 2030. Let me make myself clear how I feel about the OPPD board members. I will not be satisfied until every one of them is put in cuffs, perp walked out of their home in front of a dozen news cameras, and locked in prison for 25 years for the treason that those cretins have committed against us. I'm dead serious. I'm so sick and tired of those scumbags. I mean, they got a CEO who's worth how many millions of dollars? How much does that guy make to do what? Raise our rates every year? They raise our rates to pay his bills. It's such a scam. And the people running for it are the worst of the worst. I mean, we did a bit. Remember Morgan Rye Craft, Mia? We did a bit about that on the show because her ads start popping up out of nowhere. She's running against this guy, Mike Kavanaugh, who literally has been in office on the OPPD board longer than I have been alive. So she's up against this swamp creature who's been jacking the rates up like he breathes as much as he breathes oxygen. And I start looking into her. I'm like, okay, we did the jokes, but, the rates go up every year. Maybe she can do something different. And of course not. She's some commie granola armpit hair chick that wants to run the whole city on like potato powder or power or something like that. So she's a clown. That's not going to work. She wants to, make it illegal to have a gas car. I'm embellishing a little bit, but this is the kind of crap we're talking about here. She's probably one of those lunatics that wants to have a smart thermostat in everybody's home so that she can turn the temperature down in the winter and up in the summer so you're not using too much energy. Hard pass. Somehow the only other option I had than the swamp creature was worse than him. So I had to vote for him. So if you're someone that actually, because I don't know dick for shit about energy, right? I'm not an environmental guy. I'm not into energy engineering, anything like that. If you're someone listening to this and you're in the Omaha metro area, and you know a thing or two about energy, let's talk. I would love to have you on. I would love to help do what I can do to get you in a position where we can put you on the board. How can we throw our support behind you? Because I am sick and fucking tired of dealing with this same old status quo bullshit every year. It gets worse and worse every year, and nobody even cares to fix it. Listen, man, this state, whether you're red, blue, doesn't matter. This state has got to be one of the worst in the country where the elected officials just don't listen to their constituents at all. Now, I know that's like an old trope that politicians don't listen to they ignore their constituents. This state is the worst of the worst because this is the thing. In California and Washington, where they're doing all this woke shit, a lot of the residents out there actually want that. But here, whether you're red, whether you're blue, whether you're independent, whether you're libertarian, everybody agrees on one single issue. One single issue, whether you live in Omaha, or you live in Valentine, or you live in Lincoln or Grand Island, or you live on a farm and you don't know what town you're in because it doesn't matter because you don't interact with people. It doesn't matter. Everyone agrees on one issue, which is that we want to lower the property taxes. And it's the one thing these cocksuckers refuse to do. Don't pardon my French. Fuck these people. I'm sick of them. They won't do it. They just ignore it and kick it down the road even further. And then talk about how do we raise the taxes. Omaha Public Schools is such a failure. It's such a failure. Look at the graduation and literacy rates out of that godforsaken excuse for a school district. If a private company failed at the rate that OPS did, there's no way in hell they'd be able to keep raising their prices. They'd go out of business. If a private company if police officers shot unarmed black people at the rate that OPS fails black kids, there would be an actual argument to abolish the police department when the communists talk about it. That's what a disgrace this public school system is in this state, and they want to raise your taxes to give themselves more money. They're not going to spend that money on the kids. Why would they? None of the other money's been spent on the kids. By the way, they're missing millions of dollars from the pension fund and nobody knows where it went. But yeah, let's trust them with more of our fucking money. Here's what's going to happen in this city, because I've already seen this. There's another city where they've done this. It's called Chicago. In Chicago, you've got two classes of people. You've got really rich people that live in nice apartments downtown or big houses way out west. And then you've got poor people and criminals. And that's it. The middle class has been removed from Chicago. The working class, the people that work the 9-to-5s, the people that own the small businesses, they've been removed from Chicago. Now, they still go to Chicago. They still work in Chicago. They don't live in Chicago. They live in suburbs on the outside of Chicago. Why? Because they keep raising the property taxes, because the energy got too expensive, because the cost of living just got jacked up too high because they spent money on stupid projects and they had idiotic criminal justice policies like you're seeing being enacted here. That's what's going to happen here. And all these middle class neighborhoods that you guys are living in right now in Omaha, where houses are like $250,000 to $350,000, those are going to become the slums, because that's what happened in Chicago. They're going to get overrun with criminals. People are going to move out. They're going to move to Bennington. They're going to move to Fremont. They're going to move to Blair, Plattsmouth, Bellevue, wherever. And the riffraff, as we call it, is going to move in. And those areas are going to go to shit. I'm watching a neighborhood. I've had my eye on it for some time now. I'm watching it in real time. It's not where I live, but I know where it is. Someone close to me lives there. I'm watching it in real time go to shit. I am watching this neighborhood turn into the neighborhood that this person I knew fled to move there. In real time. And that's going to be all of this city, with the exception of Regency and Village Point and Linden Estates and, Northwest Omaha, the nice areas. You're going to have ghost towns and slums. That's what's going to happen to this city if we don't change something quickly. I hate to break it to you. I'm not staying here if that happens. We will move. I'm not going to stick around for that. I'm not going to watch my area turn to shit. It's just not going to happen. I will move. We will go to Bennington or Blair or somewhere like that. I don't care. We will be gone, though. That's all that matters. Because we're not rich enough to live in the nice neighborhoods. So I just wanted to rant over. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Or Phoenix.
Well, you do Phoenix. I do Phoenix. Yeah. Phoenix is expensive, though. Okay. What do we got going on here? All right. Let's jump into the current state of the left real quick.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. That is kind of loud. Can you turn that down my headphones? Thank you. All right, this week on Current State of the Left, we're going to play our favorite game, which liberal most belongs in a mental institution. We all know the rules. Every liberal belongs in a mental institution, but one of them by rule must belong there more than the others. But before we get into that, we got a special report from some psychiatrists, some therapists that have gotten together, and they've noticed a real problem in this country, and they're calling it out. Go ahead, play it.
Jonathan is in focus with me now. So first of all, identify it for us. You're in a session, and you pick up on what?
Well, Harris, it doesn't take long for me to pick up on this. People are obsessed with Trump. They're fixated. They're hyper-fixated on Trump. And they talk about some of the features of this disorder. They can't sleep. They feel traumatized by Mr. Trump. They feel restless. I had one patient who said she couldn't enjoy a vacation because anytime she saw Trump in the news or on her device, she felt triggered. So this is a profound pathology, and I would even go so far as to call it the defining pathology of our time.
These people come to you for the things that you described. Can't sleep, traumatized, perhaps depression. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But at first, you are there to treat an illness, a disorder of some kind. And what you figure out is the trigger.
Well, and Trump is the trigger for many of these people. And to be that fixated on a figure, on a person, it's simply not healthy. And our country has strayed so far away from where we once were. If you look at in the 80s when President Reagan was shot, people were united. He famously said, I hope you're all Republicans to the surgeons. And the response was, today, Mr. President, we're all Republicans. But our country has lost that. We've strayed so far from that unity.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see? Because you told me off camera, 3/4 of your patient load right now has what you're calling this TDS. Well,
3/4 of my patients will present with a lot of these symptoms, and within probably 5 minutes of seeing me, their hatred for Trump comes up. So if you're that hyper-focused on Trump, that's a real issue, and it's worth being treated.
You know, I got to imagine every therapist in America is a giant Trump supporter because this guy has got to have just lined their pockets. They've got to be just, this has got to be like the gold rush if you're a therapist right now with Trump in office. Like if I were a therapist, which I wouldn't because I don't believe in the practice, I think it's a scam. But if I were a therapist right now, I would be campaigning, hey, how do we repeal this pesky amendment that says a president can only be in office two terms? How do we get it so that Trump is allowed to hold office for as long as he wants? Because this guy has made my business explode. Like, I'm just churning them out. Every 15 minutes, I got a new patient in there. Mia, could you imagine not being able to enjoy a vacation because you hated the president so much? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. I wasn't when he was in office. But if I see something about him on Facebook when I'm on vacation or whatever, I'm just going to go, oh, okay. Oh, that guy's a fucking idiot. And then let it go. Just the mere sight of a man. How do you let the people and the things that you hate define you? I think that's what the real issue is here, is these people don't have anything else going for them. You know, if you ask, you go up to your neighbor or your coworker or whatever and ask him, hey, how do you define yourself? Oh, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a Christian, I'm a whatever. These people don't have anything going on. They go and they work at a meaningless dead-end job. They come home to nothing in their empty studio bedroom or their studio apartment or one-bedroom apartment. Maybe they got a cat. They can't afford a dog. They don't have time to walk the dog. Maybe they had a dog, but the dog kept biting the neighbors in the apartment, so they had to remove it. And then it turned into a huge stink with the management in the leasing office. And, you know, they said, we're not getting rid of the dog. And they said, you get rid of the dog, you're going to get evicted. And they said, come and take the dog from my cold, dead hands. So they sent the sheriff and the Humane Society, and there was like an armed standoff, and it turned into like a Ruby Ridge thing. And the mom gets shot in the back while she's holding the baby from the kitchen by the ATF sniper. It could have been that. But, oh, that trailed off, didn't it? I didn't really know where I was going. I just started going, and I didn't know. It started from a true story that we had experienced many years ago, but it just kind of trailed off. But I don't even remember where I was. Oh, they don't have anything going on. That's it. Trump is it. That's what they do. They go to work, they come home, they eat their shitty TV dinner, they doom scroll on TikTok, and then they rant on social media about how much they hate the president. Right now, you guys listening to this, that is a significant percentage of the population's entire existence that I just described to you. They go to a job for which they are overqualified for because they got scammed at a 4-year college degree, which we'll talk to you about a little bit later on in the show. We got a whole segment coming up about that. They're overqualified and underpaid for. They come home to their studio apartment that they can't afford. They feed their cat that if it even got sick, the thing would be fucking dead because they don't have $3,000 sitting around for a surgery. They don't have $35 to pay the copay to get themselves into the doctor's office. They eat their shitty food that's slowly poisoning them and then going to cause them to die a premature death. They doom scroll on their phone that they maxed out their credit card to buy, and then they post shit about the president. And it's all the president's fault that they live in this miserable existence, by the way. It's the president's fault. Never mind that 70% of the country is doing significantly better than them. No, this is the president's fault. If we could just get rid of Trump, their life would be so much better off. Was their life better off under Biden? No! They attempted suicide 4 times under Biden. But it's all Trump's fault because Biden inherited a mess from Trump. And Trump, see, the goalposts are constantly moving if you talk to these people. But that's their entire existence. All right, we're getting ranty today. I think it's the cat. This is my 6th cup of coffee today. So that's probably got to play a role. My brother told me, he's like, it's not good for your heart. I'm like, shut up. While you're eating McDonald's, you're telling me, no, my brother's in like freakishly good shape. He's built like an Olympic athlete, but he's like, it's not good for your heart. I'm like, look, here's my thing. I'm not competing, to participate in a professional sport. If I want to have a little bit of extra coffee, if I want to drink a beer or two, I'm going to fucking do it. Okay. Okay. Now let's play which liberal most belongs in a mental institution. Let's go to our, what's our first contestant here? Oh, our first contestant is Taylor Lorenz, the reporter. She went on Jack Mack from Barstool, has got a new show where he interviews reporters. And he interviewed Taylor Lorenz, who famously cheered on Luigi Mangione on the Piers Morgan show. And in 2025, yes, 2025 is still absolutely terrified of contracting COVID-19. Go ahead and check this out.
Some photos where you're inside without a mask. How do you decide when not to?
No, I never wear. The only time that I've ever been inside without a mask since I got sick was every single person in that inside has PCR tested that day.
You were at an event, I think Dylan Mulvaney was there, but you weren't wearing a mask.
So that was right, because again, there's only like, I think 5 or 6 people in that photo, maybe 10 people in that photo.
There's 12, but yeah.
Okay, but every single person in that, first of all, that is a room that is open to the outside. Every single person in that photo had PCR tested to walk in, yes, and they had to share their proof of it to walk into that event. And even then, I made them even take precautions.
If I wanted to have dinner with you and 6 other media people.
Inside, you'd be PCR testing.
To allow you to, like...
Because, and also, and not only that, I would also ask that you, like, take precautions leading up. Only because, Jack, I have no immune system, so I'm just not fucking around with it.
Well, honestly, before I came...
I'll send you a box.
I did. I was like, I need to bring a mask.
We should try to get her on the show, and we'll have her on the Zoom camera, and I'll still wear a mask just to be respectful of her. I don't want to give her COVID through the camera, or the microphone, you know what I'm saying? 2025, ladies and gentlemen, 2025. First off, if she had no immune system, she would be dead. Haven't you heard it, Mia? Have you heard of the bubble boy? You've heard of but not your cousin that ate the bubbles. The kid. No, there was a kid who was a bubble boy. He spent his entire life in a bubble because he literally had next to no immune system. And they let him out and he lived for like 7 minutes or something like that. He died at like 12 years old. It's tragic. She doesn't have no immune system. What she has is a mental illness, just like the people that therapist was talking about in the Fox News interview we played for you. COVID broke her brain. That's the only difference between her and the TDS people, is it wasn't Trump, it was COVID. And there are still, you can go to Zero COVID on Reddit, which I am banned from. My IP address is totally banned from Reddit because I told someone in an Omaha subreddit that I was going to report them to Department of Homeland Security for staging a protest outside of the ICE building. They banned my entire IP address for that. I have proof, too. But, yep, that was my account. Cry about it, losers. But there's Zero COVID community on Reddit where these people are just unhinged. It truly broke them. It truly did. And here's what you'll find out is they're one of two things. The people who refer to themselves as immunocompromised are in 90% of cases one of two things: morbidly obese or extremely mentally ill. I'm talking septum piercings. I'm talking rainbow colored hair, just psychopaths. These people are broken. Let's go to the next one here. This is, yes. This is a scholar, an absolute genius on the Whatever podcast. Really breaks it down for us and makes us think about some things in a new way that a lot of you probably haven't before. Go ahead and check this out.
Let me finish.
Jesus Christ.
Just shut your mouth and let me finish.
Okay.
Thank you. About time. 2 + 2 = 4, would you agree? Is that always true?
What do you mean by always?
It past, present, and in the future. Is it a universal truth?
It depends. Like, there's like an entire debate over like whether we've like found math or it's always existed. Like, for example, if there was no one to see it, like in the cosmos, and we had 2 particles like just like rolling around each other, does that mean 2? Like, does that still exist? Does math still exist in that context? I think that math is probably something that we like observe and that we've kind of come to use like in a utility sense. But I don't think that I think there probably needs to be someone there counting for there to be 1 or 2 or 3 things. I think it's like there's some utility in math. So I don't necessarily think it's like something that you can quantify in this way of always existing. I think it's something that we kind of constructed.
So you're saying numbers are only dependent upon the things in the world?
I mean, if there's no things in the world, yeah, there's no number of things.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Numbers are universal. Yeah, numbers pre-exist. Logic pre-exists creation. That's why creation is ordered in a logical way.
Okay, I would probably disagree. I
So
mean, I just don't
creation
see-
is not ordered in a logical way. Okay, do you believe in the laws of logic?
I think that the laws of logic are like we use them like utility wise, right, to come to conclusions and to like
So they
see
could be
patterns, et
they could
cetera.
be false in the
That's
future.
not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we've
asking
constructed
you
a
a question.
system.
Okay, I'm asking you, could they be false in the future?
So, once upon a time, when we first started this show, we had a segment called Smart Stupid People. What you just watched there was a stupid person who has spent their entire life believing that they're a smart person, find out in real time that they're actually a stupid person, and their brain malfunctions.
You idiots!
You watched it in real time. She just realized in the middle of whatever the fuck that was that she was a fool. You could see the facial expression change as she rambled. Oh my God, I'm a fucking retard. It hit her like a ton of bricks. Sometimes it's okay, you guys. Here's the difference between a stupid... Here, I'll tell you what. Here's the difference between a smart person and a stupid person who thinks they're smart. Is a smart person is willing to just admit when they're wrong. A smart person is willing to cede something to their opponent in an argument. And those are usually the people that get further in life, because we're not just talking theoretical debates here. We're talking, are you willing to cede ground to your spouse? Are you willing to cede ground to your boss? Are you willing to cede ground to whoever, right? A smart person is willing to admit when the other person is right, or at least has a point. If your opponent in a debate asks you, does 2 + 2 always equal 4? And your answer is not yes, because you refuse to cede even the smallest bit of ground to your opponent, you're not an intelligent person. You know, Orwell wrote about this in 1984, which is the ultimate book that people like to pretend they've read. But Orwell had a thing in 1984 called 2 + 2 = 5. Because that was the type of I mean, it's the same thing as men can get pregnant. The party would say such ridiculous things like 2 + 2 = 5 that you would just have to pretend it was true. That you watched that woman do that right there. She's going to make the argument that 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. And that's where we get into like subjective morality and all these things like that. And where everything's gray and it can just be whatever we want it to be. You know, men can get pregnant, girls can become boys, dogs can be cats, all this fucking flip turned upside down bullshit. No, sometimes things are just objective. 2 + 2 = 4. Men cannot get pregnant. Murder is bad. Things like that. It's okay to have a little bit of objective morality from time to time. Now, this last one here, as we know, there are many, many things that are racist. We've covered quite a few of them on this show. Things like hiking, things like exercise, things like swimming, bird watching, a number of other things that are considered racist. But we've got a new one to add to the list. Go ahead.
Okay, so I've been seeing this all my life, right? The Great Divide. Y'all even got the big one. The Great Divide. Okay, y'all don't think this racist? Cause how do y'all got the brown side, the vanilla side? The word divide. Looks like segregation to me. Y'all hear it right there where it's at.
Well, it's good to see Snap went out this week. Ice cream is racist now. Ice cream is racist because they had a vanilla and chocolate swirl ice cream flavor at the grocery store. Because it was the Great Divide. It's racist. You know, we hear people talk about white privilege all the time, but nobody talks about just the general amount of privilege that everybody in this country has today. Because and there still are legitimate racists out there, right? But once upon a time, systemic racism was a real thing. I mean, you had a system that was built to oppress, not just black people, all different types of races of people in this country. And it was a bad deal. You know, you had Jim Crow and all and Reconstruction and all those horrible things that happened back then. You know what those people that lived under Jim Crow weren't stressing out about, Mia?
I don't know, but I'm stressing out right now about the dog farts.
The dog did fart. Those people were not that lived under Jim Crow and lived, in the 1950s during segregation. They were not stressing out about ice cream. Ice cream was not a concern of theirs. They never once did you see somebody during the Civil Rights March when Martin Luther King marched on Washington walk into a grocery store and go, why in the fuck is this ice cream separated? This Neapolitan ice cream. Why is it separated? You don't think that the blacks and the whites should be together? You think they should be separate? Racist! So which one most belongs in a mental institution? Is it the 2+2 girl? Is it Taylor Lorenz, the COVID lunatic, or the ice cream lady, the racist ice cream lady?
I think Taylor Lorenz.
I agree.
Yeah.
She's got to go. If you disagree with our pick, drop a comment on YouTube or Rumble. Let us know. We'll be right back with Store Brand TMZ. All right, and before we get into our next segment, Store Brand TMZ, is brought to you by Tactilian. Christmas is coming. Why not get a gift for the Patriot in your life? If you go to Tactilian.com, Tactilian.com, with the promo code BASE, you'll save 15% off your order at the checkout on some of the premier pro-America merchandise on the internet. One more time, or two more times, I lied. Tactilian.com, Tactilian.com, with the promo code BASE, save 15% off your order at the checkout, and a portion of the proceeds is going to go to help build homes for wounded veterans. They've got decor for your home and office, decals for your vehicle, apparel for you, even accessories for your dog. Tactilian, Tactilian.com. The promo code BASE, you're going to save 15% off your order at the checkout. All right, it's time for Store Brand TMZ. Take us away. Justin Bieber! All right, first up in Store Brand TMZ, Zachary Ty Bryan, known best as Brad from Home Improvement. Did you ever watch Home Improvement with Tim Allen? Has been arrested for alleged domestic violence. The victim contacted police after the Home Improvement alum allegedly hit her in the right temple of her head on July 3rd of this year. Here's my question. Do you think when he hit her, she went, ooh, like Tim Allen did in the show? Oh, boy. Amy Schumer has unveiled her new look. Have you seen Amy's new look? She's deleted all of her pre-weight loss photos from social media. Go ahead and check out her new figure right here. She doesn't look bad. So the fats have now lost. Amy Schumer and Lizzo in the same year. Both of them have cut back.
No, she actually looks good.
I know. So a long time ago when she was first popular, she was a little chunky, but I didn't think she was fat. And then she decided, I'm going to embrace the alcoholic, disgusting, just slob appeal, which is honestly 3/4 of her fan base are just overweight, alcoholic women with no future and no prospects. So she decided she was just going to become more like her fan base. And she's lost a bunch of weight, which is, I told you guys this a couple of years ago on the air, before the Ozempic thing really blew up. I said, this body positivity shit is nonsense. It is. Because, and I told you guys this, I said, if they could make a pill that would make these people lose all the weight and they wouldn't have to do any of the diet or exercise, they'd do it overnight. Every last one of them would. And now, one by one, all of the so-called fat activists, can we call them that? The body positivity crowd, they're all even Lizzo. They're all slimming down because there's a thing called Ozempic. No, it's not a pill, but it is a shot. And you shoot it in your ass or your thigh or wherever, and the fat goes away. It's not that they think big is beautiful. They know it's not. These people, even the body positivity influencers, they look in the mirror and they're disgusted with themselves every waking moment of their lives, as they should be, by the way. And they go and they take this Ozempic to look better, and then they become health influencers. They didn't really do anything. I think Ozempic, we're going to look back on it the same way we looked at asbestos, if you want me to be completely honest with you, in about 20 to 30 years. I'm not a doctor. That's just what I'm thinking. I think they're playing a dangerous game, just injecting this crap into you forever. It's you know how they always said for the longest time, you're not ugly, you're poor. That's going to be the new thing with fat in 5 years. Because all these celebrities are going to get on Ozempic to lose weight. They're going to say, you're not fat, you're just poor. You can't afford a shot in the ass. That's it. Which is a whole other thing, that poor people in this country are fat. That's a whole other problem. Next up, Leslie Jones, the comedian and actress from Ghostbusters, had a serious question she wanted to ask on the Kelly Clarkson show. I guess she's struggling in the romance department.
I'm sick of men telling me, oh, well, you know, you hardcore. Yes, I am.
Can you handle it?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
what you bringing to the table? I am the table. I don't understand why you wouldn't want a woman like me. I am successful. I'm rich. I can fight.
I mean, I know she's like half joking, but like, yeah, why wouldn't you want a woman like her? Loud and obnoxious, unattractive. Why wouldn't that's every man's dream girl right there. I mean, if you prefer Sydney Sweeney over Leslie Jones, it's because you're a racist, okay? Limp Bizkit was scheduled to perform in Estonia in 2026. Why? I don't know. That's a really random sentence. I don't know why. Or I never could have imagined that I would be stringing together. But they were scheduled to play in Estonia in 2026, and the concert got canceled due to Fred Durst, the lead singer, his past pro-Russia statements. First reported by ERR News, Estonian officials cited Durst's prior actions, including holding a sign that said Crimea equals Russia at a 2015 show, as incompatible with the country's cultural values. Those who justify Russia's aggression, quote, have no place on Estonian stages, end quote, said foreign minister not pronouncing that. The show was part of Limp Bizkit's upcoming Loserville tour, which continues across Latin America and Europe. Now, here's the thing. You guys know I'm a big Limp Bizkit fan. I got a tattoo on my leg. Probably not the best decision, but whatever. I don't have a problem with this. I think a lot of the Russia hype is fear-mongering and scare tactics. I don't have a problem with Estonia doing this. They said, hey, this is a foreigner who has made public statements that are not consistent with our values as a country. We don't want him here. I think every country has the right to do that, and every country should do that way more than they do. Because I'm seeing these people, these pro-Ukraine nut jobs, and I'm not pro-Russia, by the way. I think the Ukrainian people take it way too far. But I see these pro-Ukraine leftist nut jobs in the United States that think this is the best thing ever. And it's so funny because Fred Durst is pro-Russia and he's getting what's his for shilling for Putin and blah, 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 blah. And then these same people will turn around and they'll get upset when the Trump administration says, hey, if you've espoused views that are anti-American or pro-communist, pro-radical Islam, pro all these things that are just direct conflicting with our values, and you try to come into this country and apply for citizenship or apply for a visa, we're going to deny it and ship you out of it. All of a sudden, they have a problem. All of a sudden, when America does it, it's a bad thing. But when Estonia does it, because it's a cause they support, it's a good thing. No, I think every country should be way more selective with who they let in. If you conflict with the cultural values, you're not allowed into the country. Next one here. The DoorDash girl has been arrested. We played the DoorDash girl a couple of weeks ago for you on the show, so I'll give you a little quick refresher. Girl is delivering DoorDash. She gets the order. She walks in or walks up to the guy's house. The guy said, just leave it on the doorstep. The door is somewhat open. She's filming, opens the door, and sees the guy lying on the couch, passed out, butt naked. And she posts a video on TikTok about how she was, and I quote, literally sexually assaulted, end quote. And she reported it to DoorDash, and DoorDash shut her account down. They fired her. And first, she got the whole internet on her side. How could you fire this woman for being a rape victim? And the police were ignoring her. And then all of a sudden, more and more details started to come out about the case. And as we all know, so she's been arrested for what do we got here? Oh, unlawful surveillance. Count of unlawful. Yeah, two counts of unlawful surveillance here. So it's about time. Good. Couldn't have happened to a nicer gal. The guy told you leave it on the porch. You didn't do that. Once again, women's refusal to follow basic instructions gets them in trouble. What a surprise. Now, here's the thing. Let's imagine for a second, all you guys that are still defending her, if the roles were reversed. If a male DoorDasher was called to a woman's home and told, leave it on the porch, saw that the door was cracked open, pulled his phone out, started recording, and walked into the house. And she happened to be there asleep, probably intoxicated, and in the nude. What would happen to that guy? He would have been arrested immediately. It wouldn't have taken a massive public outcry to go get him. He would be drugged through the streets as a pervert, as well he should be. You want equal rights? This is what it looks like. Congratulations. We got one more here. Bo Bragason have you heard of Bo Bragason? She's an actress. You usually know who these people are better than I do. Has been cast to play the role of Princess Zelda in the upcoming Nintendo movie, thus ending the speculation that the transgender woman, Hunter Schafer, would be cast in the role. Now, the trans community, is upset about this. Go pull the tweets up here. Yeah, pull the tweets up. So we're just going to move on from the biggest miscasting in cinema history that fast. I beg to differ. The biggest miscasting was when OJ didn't get the role as the Terminator. Hunter deserved the role, not some random girl who's been in films no one's ever heard of. Here's another one. I still might watch it as a fan, but I'm going to say you screwed up. Hunter Schafer has the build and facial structure of Princess Zelda from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Hunter is the one person that if I didn't know any better, I'd swear she was part of the Hawaiian race. That must be the race from Zelda. I don't know. So that was a sampling of some of the tweets. People are, of course, being very reasonable and not unhinged whatsoever when they talk about this. That's fine. You can take that down. Hunter has the build, except one key part. There's one, maybe two, I guess you could say, if you count the Adam's apple. Two critical parts there that Hunter doesn't really fit the bill for Zelda. But don't hear me tell you. I think you ever watch Jimmy Neutron when you were a kid? Well, there was a character from Jimmy Neutron named Sheen, and I found a clip from way back when I was in grade school. You did watch it? I found a clip from way back when I was in grade school, and I think Sheen perfectly explains why Bo Bragason got this role over Hunter Schafer. Go ahead and check it out.
I'll give you 3 reasons. 1, she's a female. 2, she's not a boy. And 3, and most importantly, she's a girl!
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. This is a sign that the culture is healing. Because if you look, be honest, Hunter Schafer does kind of look like Princess Zelda. Now, I didn't really play those games growing up. I had the Super Smash Brothers, but that was it. Hunter Schafer, the guy, does kind of look like Princess Zelda. There was a big public pressure campaign on a major corporation, Nintendo, to cast this dude as Princess Zelda, and they held firm. I don't know if that would have happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Also, has anyone ever thought maybe Hunter Schafer wouldn't have even wanted the role?
Maybe. Probably would have, though. I don't know. But here's the thing, is Nintendo's a Japanese company. And let me tell you, you meet some of those old school Asians from the Orient, not Americanized ones, they fucking hate the LGBTQ 4K HD TV community. Not like African hate or Middle Eastern hate, but they've got a little bit more vitriol than your grandma that gets pissed off anytime she sees the HIV medication commercial come on and says, why can't those people just keep it in their pants? They're like, if your grandma's at like a 70 out of 100, they're like an 85, the Asians are. With 100 being the Palestinians that throw them off of roofs. So No, this is healing. I think we need to keep this up here because I think the best thing we can do, and this includes for the gender confused community, the best thing we can do as a culture is we can continue to no longer pander toward the mentally ill. And that goes across whether it's entertainment, whether it's in politics, whether it's in education, medicine, sports. You know, one of the arguments I hear all the time is that we should have, when we talk about trans athletes, men playing in women's sports, is that we should have a third category where just the transgender athletes compete against each other. No, absolutely not. You compete as the gender you were born as. Period. End of discussion. We have to stop making exceptions and additional We have to stop making exceptions and additional rules for people just because they're mentally ill. There is no other delusion that we do that for. I mean, could you imagine if, you know, you had a guy that you worked with that was a paranoid schizophrenic and he thought the FBI was was out to get him. And they're like, yeah, we give Jake a break every 45 minutes so he can go out and scan the parking lot to see if the feds are here for him. They wouldn't do that. It's the same type of delusion. Both are denying a basic reality. The FBI is not out to get Jake, and Hunter Schafer is not a woman. Why should we make exceptions for either of their delusions just because pharmacists have found a way to make money off of one of them and not the other? No, I'm good. Hard pass. That's been Store Brand TMZ. We will see you in like 5 seconds for trending this week. All right, and before we get into trending this week, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Firecracker Farm with their great product, hot salt. If you go to firecracker.farm and use the promo code BASED, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Firecracker.farm, F-A-R-M, with the promo code BASED, you're going to save 10% off your order at the checkout. Why not, with Thanksgiving coming up, try to spicing it up? We all love Thanksgiving food, but let's be real, it does get a little bland. After you've been eating turkey and stuffing and all that for, I mean, how about you, 40, 50 years? It's got to get tiresome. Why not try and spicing things up a little bit? Or better yet, if you've got a relative who's a pussy with spicy foods, bring it, swap the label out, and just douse their turkey in it and send them to the hospital. And why not save 10% off on your hilarious Thanksgiving prank? That was a joke. Don't do that. You can't sue us. I'm a comedian. This is satire. I would never advise you to do that. That was a bit. Don't do it. Don't do it. When I tell you don't do it, I'm not giving you the idea if I'm telling you not to do it. Don't take your car and go to a heavily populated area and run a bunch of people over for fun. Don't do that either. See, you may not have thought of doing that either. And me saying it popped the idea into your head, but I was telling you not to do it, so I can't be held liable for it. Don't do it. But do go to firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net, and use the promo code BASED, like the title of the show, to save 10% off your order at the checkout. You're going to have a good old time with hot salt, I promise, but don't prank people and try to hurt them. Don't do. No bueno. No bueno, as Mia's people say. Half of Mia's people. All right. First up in trending this week, the Epstein files are coming. Can we probably use a different word than coming. That's probably not the best one. You know.
I'm gonna come.
Probably not for this subject anyway. But they're coming out. The Epstein files are. Congress voted 427-1 to release the files after Trump gave Republicans his blessing, and then the Senate unanimously passed it. It went to President Trump. He's expected to sign it. He probably will have by the time the show airs, and we're going to get the files with an asterisk next to it in 30 days. After President Trump signs it, because Attorney General Pam Bondi, who we all know I'm just a huge fan of, said she needs to go in and redact anything that may be a national security threat. What that means, I don't know. Let's be real about this before we get into what this means, though, okay? Let's be real about this, because I'm seeing a lot of Democrats scream from the mountaintops about the Epstein files. Where are the Epstein files? Where are the Epstein files? Where is the quiet list? Where have you been is the better question. Because this isn't a new revelation. These files we've known about since this guy killed himself the first time Trump was in office. This isn't anything new. But you guys shut up about it when everyone was pointing toward folks like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates being on that list. Make no mistake, had Kamala Harris won, these files would have been buried under the jail. You wouldn't have heard a peep out of the Democrats about these files. And if you brought it up, hey, where's the Epstein files? They would have called you a member of QAnon for suggesting it. And you know that's true. You know I'm right when I say that. The left did not care about this until they found out it was a political football, until they figured out it was a stick they could beat their opponents with. Let's use it on Trump. They didn't give a rat's ass about this. Don't let them gaslight you into believing they ever cared about this or they even do right now. This is a political weapon. It's nothing more, nothing less than that. Donald Trump has called their bluff. We'll see what happens next. Now, here's what Chuck Schumer had to say about it. He's actually Amy Schumer's cousin, and he doesn't know how to grill a burger.
Senator, on that note, just I guess a question that's out there. Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released?
Well, yeah, every American. Hey, dumbass, you had the House and the Senate under Biden for 2 years, and the White House. Why weren't they released? Why is it only a big deal now? And I understand there were pending court cases for some of the files and whatnot, but there were plenty that could have been released. That's the reality, though, is if Donald Trump didn't get elected, we wouldn't even be hearing about these files from our elected officials. They would have been dead silent about it. It would have been a legal case. The government, the Harris administration, would have actively fought in court to keep these files locked, and they know that's true. They know they wouldn't have given 2 squirts of piss about this had their girl won. But they're going to beat the dead horse now. But no, it's great. I want to see what's in the files. I've been supporting it from day one. I've been one of the most critical people in media about the Trump administration covering this up. Absolutely. I want to see what's in it. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. Is Clay Higgins is a representative, Republican representative from Louisiana. He voted no on this bill, on releasing the Epstein files. He was the only one. And we have his tweet here. Pull up Clay Higgins' tweet. We're going to go a little bit out of order here. Nope, not that one. The tweet. Here's how he explains it. Being the one guy. He says, I have been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt, not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that has already released over 60,000 pages of documents in the Epstein case. The effort will continue in a manner that provides all due protections for innocent Americans. If the Senate amends the bill to properly address privacy of victims and other Americans who are named not criminally implicated, then I will vote for that bill when it comes back to the House. In other words, Representative Higgins just said in a really, really long and convoluted way, somebody needs to check his hard drive. You can take it down. But I don't think it's that. I don't think it's anything to do with that. I think Representative Higgins, the reason he is so hesitant to release these files is because he knows what's in them, or he's got an idea of what's in them. And he believes it's going to compromise in one way or another our so-called greatest ally. I think that's why the Trump administration has been so hesitant to release them as well. Here's an interesting little tidbit from Clay Higgins. Somebody, one of those street reporters, caught him with an iPhone and asked him a question, put him on the spot. A very, very interesting answer. Go ahead and pull it up.
Okay, so can you answer the original question? Who do you care about more, U.S. or Israel?
There's no variance. It's like you're asking, do you love your wife more than your daughter?
Well,
and you said it's a simple question.
It is.
Do you love your wife more than your daughter?
I love the
That's
United
not a
States
simple
more than I
question
love
at
Israel.
all.
It's a very simple question.
Great love, and you as a human being, you express that love, and you have core principles that drive you to your love for your wife and your love for your daughter. It's two different loves, but neither of them is greater than the other. You understand?
Who's the priority when you're casting a vote in Congress, America or Israel?
Priority is love, son.
Well, it's a very simple question. You're not answering it, Representative.
So that might have something to do with his no vote. That could have played a little bit of a role. Whatever happened to America first? That's what these people ran on. So many of them tied their wagons to this America first movement. And you've got a guy being asked what should be the softest of softball questions. The problem is he's received millions from AIPAC, so it's not a softball question. If he does answer that question with the United States, he's going to lose his funding. If he answers the question with Israel, he's going to lose his election. Someone's going to primary him and play that quote over and over and over again. It's a lose-lose situation. That is what we call, where I am from, someone who is compromised. Someone who is not fit to serve office, whose interests don't align with that of the people who elected him. That's what Representative Clay Higgins is. And something tells me this vote, this no vote, has something to do with his secret allegiance there. Now, his claim is actually wrong in his tweet, by the way. The bill, H.R. 4405, that Thomas Massey proposed, includes redactions for the victims and people who were not accused or convicted of crimes. They can't release the victims' names due to lawsuits and other things like that. So he's lying in his reason for voting no. His whole reason for voting no, that all these people's names were going to get exposed and they were going to be jerked through the mud, was wrong. I would love to see him follow up on that and answer that question. Maybe we'll get him on the show. Probably not. That would be my guess. Donald Trump's taken some heat in the media from this. He had a reporter ask him a question, and he got a little testy with her. Go ahead and check this out.
What role do you think
the one above it.
You're going to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan Chase.
Sir,
Yeah,
if
Jennifer,
there's
go
nothing
ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir, why are you acting as a...
Quiet, begin.
Venezuela, sir, you've had a lot of meetings.
For those of you that didn't hear that, one of the reporters spoke over the other one, and Trump told her, and I quote, quiet piggy, end quote. Wow. Quiet piggy. And you look the woman up. Her name's Mary Bruce. You can look her. She's not fat. She's not a bad looking gal. So I don't know where it came from, but he's gotten testy with reporters this last week. Check out another interaction he had with somebody from Bloomberg when they asked him about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes.
What role do you think Tucker Carlson should play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward? Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him where we had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you.
That's enough.
We've had some great interviews.
I have never seen a president just chastise reporters the way he does. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it is a whole new, it's like Bo Pelini used to get a lot of shit when he was the head coach in Nebraska for how he treated the media because he was kind of short and rough with them. This is a whole nother level. I mean, you'd see presidents get frustrated with reporters and stuff like that, but you've never seen them just insult them and degrade them and call them names, and I'm here for it. These people publish garbage with an angle that they have disguised as straight down the middle, honest reporting. And I'm all for people calling them out for it. I am all for it. Could he do without calling her piggy? Yeah, probably. But I'm all for the rest of it. They deserve the abuse because you know what? They've abused this thing called the First Amendment for the last couple of decades. So it's about time they get something back. That's all there is to it. While we're on the Epstein thing, you got to check out this video here of Larry Summers. He is a former economist, former Treasury Secretary under George Bush and Bill Clinton, and now he's a Harvard professor. He was included in the Epstein files. Turned out he was a little bit closer to him than a lot of people thought, and he resigned at Harvard University. Here's the news. Somebody recorded him breaking the news to his class that he was scheduled to teach that morning. I hope they gave him the day off. Yeah, Larry Summers.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities but for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class.
Sorry, he was not resigning. He was telling them he's, addressing the connection to Epstein. Now, you guys think you had a bad day at work yesterday. At least you didn't have to walk in and tell a room full of people that you were involved with a kid fucking operation. It's like, hey, could you imagine? I think it actually takes more balls to stay there and not resign. I think that takes more audacity. I mean, could you imagine if you walked into a meeting at work, you called a big meeting and you're like, hey, I may or may not have been in contact a lot with a guy who was trafficking kids to a bunch of people and they were having sex with them for money. Anyway, who's buying drinks at happy hour on Friday after work? But we still on for that? I mean, could you imagine the audacity that would take? How do you look these people in the eye? I think I'm going to sign up for that class, whatever it is, and I'm going to take it just so I can fuck with this guy. Just so I can fuck with them. I'm assuming it's like an economics class or something like that. So you can ask about like how, like supply chain disruptions with child sex trafficking operations. I mean, you might as well go to the source, right? To the experts on the matter. Here's what I'll say about this. So the big asterisk with this, with the Epstein files coming out, is that they've got 30 days to review it. Pam Bondi does. Now, they're going to go, what they're claiming, they're going to go over it for two reasons. They're going to review it. The first one is to make sure that there's no victims' names that have been left unredacted. They don't want people getting sued. They don't want people being harassed. And they also don't want people that may have just known Jeffrey Epstein in passing, who were interviewed and then let go, to be thrown in as some type of criminal. So I can understand why they wanted to do that. But the second exception they made is they're going to remove any information and any names that may be a national security threat. That's where it gets sketchy, and that's where I just keep going back to the Israel connection. It's really the only thing that makes sense. And you guys know I'm not one of these, the Jews are behind everything. I'm not even anti-Israel, right? But it's the only explanation that makes sense. Nothing else does. The guy's, I mean, his wife has got, or his wife's father was deeply entrenched in the Israeli government. She marries this guy out of nowhere, this guy who's a loser. She's a Nepo baby from a wealthy Israeli family, marries this guy. There was something sketchy going on here. And my guess is what you're going to find out is that the quote-unquote national security threat was that our so-called greatest ally has some stuff in those files that if people found out about him, they wouldn't be our greatest ally anymore. It would sour public opinion fairly quickly on them. Okay, we've talked enough about Epstein. We'll talk more when we get the actual list, if we actually get the list. Let's go into the next segment here. Let's talk about the MAGA civil war that is brewing here. And oh boy, is the MAGA civil war brewing. It's getting a little nasty. So we talked about Thomas Massie, the congressman from Kentucky, getting remarried a couple of weeks ago in the show, and I said, hey, it's a little soon, but everybody grieves differently. Well, Donald Trump has been at odds with Massie. Massie's a Republican. He has more of an independent streak too. Libertarian, I guess you could call it. Donald Trump has been at odds with Thomas Massie, and shortly after the wedding, he posted this on his Truth Social account. Did Thomas Massie, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr. because of the fact that he always votes against the Republican Party, get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have him at less than an 8% chance of winning the election. Anyway, have a great life, Thomas, and ? His wife will soon find out that she is stuck with a loser. Well, I can't imagine.
Loser! You're a loser!
I can't imagine why Thomas Massie wouldn't like that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has also been on his nerves. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been quite possibly one of the most loyal members of MAGA since she took office. She's a congresswoman down in Georgia. But she's rattled his cage because she said, hey, no. We want these Epstein files. No more hiding this, no more. We want the files. You promised them. Your head of the FBI promised them. Your attorney general promised them. We want the files. And Trump lashed out at her with this tweet. When wacky Marjorie Trader Brown, and then in parentheses, remember, green turns to brown where there is rot involved, is working overtime to try to portray herself as a victim when in actuality, she is the cause of all of her own problems. The fact is nobody cares about this traitor to our country. Why demanding the release of the Epstein files makes her a traitor? And I'm no MTG fan, by the way. I think she's a bad look on the Republican Party. I think she's kind of fucking nuts, if you want me to be honest with you. I'm no MTG fan, but how this makes her a traitor is beyond me. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene responded to this post in an interview, and here's what she said.
I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected. And I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration. And I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country, and that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
What do you think happened? What do you think is the reason for this?
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I stand with children who are in terrible sex abuse situations. And I stand with survivors of trafficking and those that are trapped in sex trafficking. And I will not apologize for that. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files. And I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong. And so I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
And here's how Trump responded.
Her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Trader Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay.
So, to be fair, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I'm on your side here, when you talk about toxic political fighting and venom being thrown, you've been a pretty major player in venom being thrown from the right. Probably more than Trump has throughout your congressional career. So until you're willing to come out and say, hey, I did this wrong in the past. I was wrong to have said things and done things in the past. It really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. But she is right here. And Trump calling her a traitor for wanting the Epstein files released absolutely disturbs me, because here's what you got to realize. He's going to call her a traitor to the country, but he's not really calling her a traitor to the country. You got to read between the lines. He's calling her a traitor to him because she broke rank. She did something that she was told not to do by the leader of the MAGA movement, and that upsets him. This is a guy who is a control freak, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when somebody breaks rank on a control freak and they don't stand in line, or they don't get in line, that becomes a problem for them. Now, AOC, of all people, had some interesting gossip on the Marjorie Taylor Greene situation. Check out what she had to say. I think this might be an interesting insight to it.
Here's some tea for you. MTG, people are like, oh my God, she's saying all of these things. Like, what's gotten into her lately? Oh, like she's bucking against Trump. She's bucking against the administration. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She wanted to run for Senate earlier this year in the state of Georgia. She wanted to be the Republican nominee for Senate. So she was gearing up for that statewide race, and Trump told her no. Trump said no. And the White House and Trump land shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate. And she has been on a revenge tour ever since.
It could be. It could. Listen, I've got enough experience now. I know when a Hispanic woman leans forward and says, I've got some tea for you, there's a kernel of truth to it from experience. But I don't know. I think maybe that does play a role, that she's upset that they sabotaged her campaign. Here's what she's got to realize, though, is in defense of the Trump administration here, it's going to be razor thin in the midterms either way. They're hanging on to the Senate for dear life with some of these recent developments. Georgia's one they can potentially flip. They need someone who's not going to rattle cages. This is not a year where you can run a Herschel Walker in Georgia and get away with it. By the way, 3 years ago would have been the perfect time to run a Herschel Walker in Georgia and get away with it. They did that, and they still didn't get away with it. Marjorie Taylor Greene would get absolutely dog-walked there. So if you're Trump, you're sitting there going, okay, I got this woman. She's a solid vote for my agenda 99% of the time in the Congress. She wants to run for Senate. She'd be great to have in the Senate when it comes to getting my agenda through, but she doesn't stand a chance. So I can get a guy in who's going to vote with me 70% of the time, 80% of the time, and I'll just deal with the other 20 to 30%, but at least he's got a fair chance of getting elected and flipping that seat. They hedged their bets. They were playing politics. They knew she couldn't win there. But I also think it's possible that she's just upset about the Epstein files. This has been a central point to her career. She's always been loud about this, as she should be. It's disgusting that elite pedophiles have trafficked kids within this country, and we're just going to give them a pass for it for national security purposes, whatever the fuck that means. I think both things can be true here, and they probably are. It might be more one than the other. You guys get to make that up. You guys get to make that decision. Here's the big takeaway from this, though, is that you are watching, ever since the Charlie Kirk shooting, a civil war erupt within a faction of conservatism, which is the MAGA movement. MAGA was already... obviously, conservatism was bigger than just MAGA. MAGA was the most prominent part of the conservative movement, but it wasn't all of it. So you're watching a civil war ignite within the MAGA movement. And it is like a full-blown third world African country that has erupted into civil war where you've got all these different tribes, and some of them seem like they actually believe the same thing and have the same end goal, but they're fighting each other for some reason, and nobody really knows what's going on. You've got Ted Cruz over here, and Donald Trump over here, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's camp over here, and Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes, and it's just all these different people, and nobody really knows what the hell's going on. Then you've got this like libertarian wing that's kind of MAGA, but it's not really, with Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, and everyone's just like, what the absolute fuck is going on? And this has been going on since the Charlie Kirk shooting. If you look at after the Charlie Kirk shooting happened, briefly, for a short period of time, you had that funeral, and it really did look like it looked like a win for the conservative movement. Like we were going to come together and we were going to squash the opposition, right? Like it's over. Like we're gearing up, we're organizing, we're ready to roll. And ever since then, exactly what I warned you was going to happen is what happened. You had some bad actors that found a way to package their message in a way that the average conservative that was oblivious to the reality of what these people believe in could agree with. They got their foot in the door and they sunk their fangs into these people. They let the vampires in the house, and that's what's happening. So short term, it was a win for the right. You know, people got, we had a come together moment. People, I mean, I even, people that I didn't like in the conservative movement, the Republican Party here locally, that I reached out to because I knew they knew Charlie, and I was like, hey, I hope you're doing well. I didn't say if you need anything, let me know, because I always think that's a cringy thing to say when somebody dies. It's, what am I going to do? Your uncle died? Hey, man, if you need anything, let me know. What the fuck am I going to do? Am I going to bring the guy back to life? No, just say, hey, man, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. That's it. Don't offer that. That's weird. It's goofy. You want to make them food? Make them food. Don't say if you need anything, let me know. There's nothing you could do. Shut up. But even I was reaching out to people like, yo, hey, sorry about your loss, dude. That sucks. I'll pray for you. That kind of thing. Because you had unity for a little bit. But in the long term, it has ignited a civil war. And it's looking like it's going to be a win for the left, which is incredibly scary. Incredibly scary, if you think about it. Because what that does is it sets the precedent that, hey, if you kill one of their most prominent members, it's just going to spark a bunch of infighting and they're going to eat each other alive. The most extreme voices are going to rise to the top and there's going to be pushback and everyone's just going to fight and a bunch of people are going to check out and sit the elections out, or they'll splinter off and start their own party or whatever the case, they'll primary each other and waste a bunch of money doing that. Whatever the case may be, that sets a really dangerous precedent because now they go, shit, why the fuck shouldn't we just shoot another one then? Let's just up the violence. It was a win. That's what the liberals are saying looking at this, you know? And if you look at the way Trump has handled this, it's been horrible. I mean, he's basically saying there's no room for any dissent. I mean, this is Branch Davidian level cult of personality devotion that he's asking for, you know? And it's just like, they want... He demands of these elected officials in his party absolute loyalty to him. Whether it's Massie or Rand Paul or Marjorie Taylor Greene, he wants absolute loyalty. Dude, Donald Trump did not elect these people. Their constituents did. They're not loyal to the president. They're loyal to the people that elected them. Like, if Trump wants to play mob boss instead of president, then maybe he needs to step out of the way and let someone else do it that actually wants to be the president. Because this is what this has been his whole game, is that if you step out of line, we're going to spend a bunch of money primarying you. By the way, mind you, I told you Donald Trump has when he got elected, I said he's got about a year and a half to get his agenda in. A year and a half to get his agenda in because the midterms are going to roll around. We're going to lose at least the House, maybe the Senate. That's how it always works. What's he doing right now? He's fucking around. He's wasting his time. He's threatening to primary people that step out of line, right? So we're going to lose even more seats in the House and Senate. Here's what happens. The primary threat, the threat of if you don't vote for this, we're going to primary you, it works until it doesn't. because eventually it starts to have an adverse effect. It's like that bully that runs around at school saying, if you don't do this or that, I'm going to kick your ass. And he says it to all these different guys. And then eventually, one day, people have just had enough. And somebody punches him. Let's fight. And that bully gets hit back. And you know what? Maybe he wins that initial fight. But once somebody breaks the trend and they've shown that they're willing to fight back against him, the next day that bully comes to school and now he's got 40 people that are ready to fight with him. And he don't have the stamina to fight for it. It's not a Steven Seagal movie where they're all going to come at him one by one. That guy gets his ass kicked. And now you got a whole problem because all these people have risen up against you. What he needs to do is he needs to shut the fuck up and do what we elected him to do. Otherwise, the midterms are going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a blue wave like we've never seen before. You know, the average, and we told you this wasn't going to get fixed overnight. I think they're doing some of the right things when it comes to affordability. I don't agree with all of it, but I agree with some of it. But we told you this wasn't going to be an overnight fix. The problem was Donald Trump, in order to get reelected, was not as honest with you as we were. We told you, hey, prices are not going to go down. You just have not long term. You just have to hope that wage growth outpaces inflation over the next couple of years, and you'll start to feel a little bit less pressure. We told you that. Trump told you that he was going to lower the price of groceries. Well, the price of groceries has not lowered. It hasn't raised, but it hasn't lowered. And now, like I told you, a year after the election, people are sitting there going, why the fuck are the price of groceries not gone down? You told us it was going to go down. Like I told you was going to happen. I told you they set themselves up for failure. So they got a real problem here. Affordability concerns are still people's top issue. And Trump came out the other day in a press conference and referred to people being concerned about affordability as, and I quote, a con job. He didn't say, you know what, we came in and we inherited a mess. This is tougher than we thought it would be, and we're going to have to work around the clock overtime to get this fixed. It is a bad situation, but I'm the guy to fix it. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. Here's what we've done already that's working. Here's where we're going to be a year from now. And here's what we're going to do in the next congressional session to fix these problems. He hasn't done that. He just called it a hoax. I mean, could you imagine Matt Rule when he took over for Scott Frost in his first year? They're having a rough time going about it. They're losing games they shouldn't have. It seemed like everything was, all the one-score losses and choke jobs were still happening. Could you imagine if Matt Rule came out in the press conference? They're like, hey, Coach, you just dropped 4 games in a row. You haven't won a one-score game all season. What the hell's going on? And Rule goes, oh, no, we won those games. That's a hoax. That's a con job. What do you say? That news article that says we lost? That's a hoax. It didn't happen. We won. Were you at the game? We won. The problem is the message that it's sending to people when he calls it a con job, the affordability crisis. Because when he calls it a con job, he's telling people that it's not a problem. And when the average independent swing voter hears the president say that their number one problem is not a real problem, that does 2 things. Number one, it diminishes them. It says, hey, you don't fucking care about me. The other is it tells him he's done doing anything about it. You don't fix things that aren't problems. If my wife says, hey, we need to fix the ceiling, it's leaking, and I go in there and I watch it all day and it doesn't leak, it's not a problem. I'm not going to fix it. Why would I waste my time fixing the ceiling that's not actually leaking? If he really doesn't believe that the affordability crisis is a problem, he's not going to do anything about it. And that's the message he's sending to the average voter, which is why we're going to get screwed in the midterms. I'll tell you, if I'm J.D. Vance and I have any aspirations, I just got me just fucking wetter than the ocean over there. Saying I was J.D. Vance. If I'm J.D. Vance outside of our role play in the bedroom, if I'm actually J.D. Vance and I have any aspirations to be president in 2028, I am meeting with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, with people like Thomas Massey, with people like Rand Paul behind the scenes. And I am talking to these people, trying to broker peace, trying to say, what can we do you don't have to be on board with everything. What can we do to turn the temperature down a little bit? How can we fix this? And the reason there's 3 reasons I'm doing that. Number 1, the infighting just looks bad. It just looks bad. Can we not fight in front of the kids? Can we not? We can argue behind closed doors, but do we have to do it all in public? Number 2, your agenda dies your political aspirations die with the agenda. If the agenda does not succeed, if we go into the 2026 midterms and lose, and you have not accomplished your agenda, you have not been able to put the policies in place that you think are going to fix the problems in this country, there goes your 2028 aspirations. J.D. Vance's entire political future is tied to the next 9 months. If the next 9 months don't go well, if they don't get to implement their agenda, if it doesn't look like the ship's being righted and we're correcting course, he stands no chance in 2028. Hello, President Gavin Newsom. That's what's going to happen. You are a paper candidate in 2028. You are token opposition, nothing less. The third reason is if your boss, who, again, you've tied your entire brand and agenda to, continues to rattle the cage of these people and rile them up, people like Thomas Massey, people like Rand Paul, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's nothing stopping these people from going, fuck you, in 2028. J.D. Vance, you stood idly by while this man destroyed my political career. I'm running as an independent. I'm running as a libertarian. And they won't win, but they'll get 10% of the vote. And that's all they need to totally kneecap you. So if I'm Vance, I am trying to make peace behind the scenes. Because, like I said, your entire political future depends on it. And there's still things that need to get done in Congress. There's still things that we need our very, very slim majority on board with us for. How can you make these concessions? How can we stop wasting time, energy, and resources fighting with each other? Okay, let's go to our next one here. Thomas Crooks, the Trump shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania, we've finally gotten some new information about this guy. Not from the FBI, of course. They've done nothing to help here. Reporters, Tucker Carlson and a couple of others have gone out and they've found some new information on this guy's social media footprint. If you'll remember, when he shot Trump, the FBI's and Secret Service, their initial story was that this kid just wasn't on social media. They found the only kid that was politically radicalized in his young 20s enough to take a shot at a sitting president, and he just wasn't on social media. The only one. What are the odds, right? So this guy, if you look at his posts going back to like 2018, 2019, he's on YouTube, and he's making all these heinous comments about how we need to kill the Jews and the congressmen and women that don't stand with Trump need to be gassed and shot and all this horrible stuff. And right around 2020, something changed. He became radicalized about COVID. He was talking about how if you leave your house without a mask, you're a murderer, you should be locked in prison. And he just continued to get more and more extreme in his left-wing rhetoric. Now we find out that the guy identified as non-binary with they, them pronouns. What are the fucking odds? It's every fucking shooter's a troon. Like, what are we doing here, dude? He was into furries, and muscle mommies were a big fetish of his. Do you know what a muscle mommy is, Mia? Are you familiar with the muscle mommies? No? It's the women that are like 6 feet tall and they work out all the time at the gym and they're just jacked. That was a big fetish of this guy, was furries, and muscle mommies were a big thing of his. So obviously a well-grounded and stable individual here, right? So I think what you have here is you have an unstable person. And unstable people are easily radicalized either direction. And he was constantly talking about political violence, like different ways to kill people and stuff like that. But people that are unstable can be easily radicalized to either direction. That's why you will often see a lot when we see these politically motivated shootings, there'll be a lot of confusion because you'll see that the guy was really hard one direction in his old social media posts, and then we find new ones where he's like big into transgender stuff, and it's like totally opposite. He did a 180. And that's just the reality is these people are crazy and they're easily influenced and they don't have a lot of friends or communication with the outside world. And they sit there online and they become increasingly radicalized and people get in their heads and they sit into an echo chamber. And that's when they get violent. So here's my thing. Why has it taken so long, number one, to find out anything about this guy? Why, number two, why is Tucker Carlson the one releasing this information? Where is Kash Patel, Mr. Transparency Ben? What does Kash Patel do all day? What does he do? I can't find anything this guy could not be the loss prevention manager at Target. He would fail. There's no doubt in my mind that if you put Kash Patel in charge of loss prevention at Target, and there was a spree of shopliftings, he would not be able to get to the bottom of it. He would not be able to stop it. It would happen under his nose, and it would probably get worse.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
They really don't. So this is the most insane story. Kash Patel's girlfriend is a country music singer that no one's ever heard of. She's got like 10,000 plays on Spotify. And some conspiracy is going around on the internet about her being a Mossad agent that's compromised Kash Patel. I don't know. I doubt it's true. But it's something to do with Epstein or something like that. And a podcaster named Elijah Schaefer retweeted a picture. He didn't tweet it himself. It wasn't even words. He retweeted a picture of this woman. And she sends Elijah Schaefer a cease and desist letter and a threat of a lawsuit if he as much as mentions her name in public again. Mind you, she's a public figure. She's a country music singer. That's part of what happens when we do the public. Believe me, I've had people say things about me, and I've been on the phone with a lawyer saying I want to financially wreck this fucking asshole, and I can't do it because that's what happens when you're a public figure. I don't think sharing a picture of someone that somebody else tweeted is enough to qualify for a lawsuit. So, Kash Patel, I can tell you, when I asked what does he do all day, it was a rhetorical question because this is what he does all day. Kash Patel has now assigned a security detail to his girlfriend to go on tour with her. On the taxpayer dime, millions of dollars, an FBI security detail to follow this woman around. This man, and there were some morons in the Biden administration, this man may actually be the single most unqualified individual to hold a position in the federal government ever. And that includes when you go to the VA, the sassy black lady that's eating in front of you and texting on her phone while you're trying to get service. She's more qualified to hold her job than Kash Patel is. Are you looking up his girlfriend? What's her name? I don't know. Don't say it. I don't want to get sued. I don't know. What's her name? I don't fucking care. He's not going to sue us.
Alexis Wilkins?
I've never heard of her. I don't. There's a couple country artists I like, but I'm not into it like that. I couldn't tell you. What are we doing here?
She's 27.
How old is he? He's got to be in his 40s, right?
He's 45.
Oh my God. Hey, you know what? Players, shoot or shoot, okay? Shoot or shoot. That's all I'll say. So how do we have... There's no way it's been... Because you had two guys try to shoot Trump last year. And we don't know jack shit about either of them. I understand it's a pending federal investigation, but you'd think we'd know something about these guys. It wouldn't be kept so airtight unless they were patsies. Like a troon with no friends walks into a school with a gun, and within 20 minutes, we know the guy's blood type. We have two different people crack off rounds at the president of the United States, and we don't know anything about them. We don't know their motivation. We don't know anything. We do know, and we did a whole report on it after the shooting happened, the metadata from Crooks and some other unknown individual that went to the FBI's headquarters right up the street from his house every single day for years showed those two in constant communication, showed that phone constantly making stops at Crooks's house, showed that phone going to a gun range with Thomas Crooks. Now, the FBI has acknowledged that the gun range footage of Crooks shooting exists, but said they're not going to release it to the public. Who was he training with? Was he with himself? Where did he get his gun? That's another thing I said. You know, it's crazy. You hear about these shooters. As we all know, USAID was basically the money laundering arm of the CIA. You hear about these shooters that they're 19 years old with no job, and they've got a $3,000 rifle and, you know, $2,000 worth of body armor and all this crazy gear. I mean, their whole loadout kit's like $8,000, but they've got no job. Where the hell do they buy it from? Then USAID goes away, and what do we have? We've got the Charlie Kirk shooter who got Charlie with the deer rifle, and then we've got the ICE shooter who had his grandpa's old, you know, World War II rifle. It's all old milsurp shit. Kind of makes you wonder. Some budget cuts cause that? Who knows? Just asking questions. We also know that on the day of the shooting, Thomas Crooks flew a drone prospecting the area of where Trump would be and where he could set up for 11 minutes. And the 11 minutes he did it, that he flew this drone, just happened to be the 15-minute window where the Secret Service couldn't figure out why their anti-drone system was down. No, I'm not making that up. We know that the American Glass Research Building, where Crooks set up from, where the Secret Service said it was just too much of a slope for them to set up on that roof, even though there were roofs all over the area that had far, far, far more of a slope, and they had no problem getting on that, was the only building in the entire area where Trump was giving a speech that didn't have an active surveillance system. It had cameras set up that didn't work, but it wasn't working. How would he know that? How would he know that? You had two cops that were supposed to be on duty and a third one that just left, and nobody knows what the hell happened to that guy. You had police reported him, and then they said he was suspicious and then just decided to do nothing about it. Everything failed. You can believe one of two things here. You can believe that there were institutional failures at every stop of the way. Every stop of the way. And that's why these institutions have all these safeguards and all these different, like, police officers and external security and Secret Service and drones and anti-drone systems and snipers and all these things. Because if one or two of them go down, the rest can pick up the slack. So you can either believe that every single step failed at the exact perfect time, or you can believe it was an inside job. It's up to you. But I'm sure Cash will get to the bottom of it. What's Cash going to do after he's done with this job? Where's he going to go work?
He's going to go on tour with his girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. Wouldn't it be funny if you were just at the mall one day and you saw Cash Patel as a mall cop, like, riding around on a set? He's been demoted. All right, go to the next one here. The dating game is all fucked up. All kinds of problems in the dating game. We got a couple different stories here. This first one is from Vice News. It is about man keeping. Have you heard of man keeping? No? I've heard of mansplaining. It's something I do regularly on this show. But man keeping is the new trend. Now, man keeping, it says right here, is why more and more women are done with dating. Managing his stress, interpreting his moods, holding his hands through feelings he won't share with anyone else. All of it is unpaid. Is it any wonder why women are fed up? Because men have never had to do any of those things for women. Never. We've never had to do that. It says researchers at Stanford. Oh, so good. So When you go to Stanford and you pay $90,000 a year or whatever for tuition, just know that this is the crap you're paying for. Have finally given a name to something many women have been dealing with for years. It's called man-keeping, and it's helping explain why so many women are stepping away from dating altogether. Man-keeping describes the emotional labor women end up doing in heterosexual relationships. In homosexual relationships between women, it's more physical labor from all the fighting that they're doing. It goes beyond remembering birthdays or coordinating social plans. It means being your partner's one-man support system, managing his stress, interpreting his moods, holding his hand through feelings he won't share with anyone else, all of it's unpaid. Yes, that is how relationships work. You typically do not get paid to help them deal with things that a normal partner would help them deal with. If you are getting paid, you are a prostitute. I'm glad we could clear this up. The root of the issue is tied to what experts are calling the male loneliness epidemic, as more men report having fewer close friendships. Romantic partners are expected to pick up the slack. Instead of processing with friends, many men offload everything onto the woman they're dating. She becomes his entire emotional infrastructure. Why are they acting like this is a one-way street? Because it's not. Man-keeping is why more and more women are done with dating. Plenty of women are no longer interested in that dynamic. Only 38% of single women in the U.S. are currently looking, according to Pew Research, for a relationship. Among single men, that number jumps to 61%. The gap says a lot. Women aren't opting out of love. They're opting out of being someone's therapist with benefits. Okay, perfect. The Guardian calls man-keeping a modern extension of emotional labor, one that turns a partner into a life coach. This isn't about avoiding vulnerability. It's about refusing to carry someone else's emotional weight. See, all of this would be great if this wasn't a two-way street. This is implying that women are the only ones that have to do this. Hey, guys, I hate to break it to you, but a big part of being in a relationship, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're dating a man or you're dating a woman, are managing their stress, interpreting their moods, and holding their hand through feelings they won't share with anyone else. That is why you get a romantic partner. Literally, the selling point of this article is a big part of why people choose to settle down with each other. And yes, it is unpaid. I hate to break it to you. You don't get paid. It is not a job. If you want to be single, that's certainly a choice. Women, you're like 60% more likely to commit suicide if you are single past 40, but it's a choice. You can do it. It's up to you. Women aren't opting out of love. They're opting out of being someone's therapist with benefits. Now, I'm not going to make excuses for all the men on the dating scene, because some of them are my friends. And yeah, some of them are people you shouldn't date. Some of them are people you should date. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for all of them. I think part of your problem here, though, is that a lot of these women who have checked out of dating have been sold a bag of goods in media that does not exist. They've been told that, through movies and social media, that everything's peachy and you just hold each other's hands and go on vacation and that's it. And that's not how it works. These are people with unrealistic expectations. And when people don't meet those expectations, they check out. Which is why, men, if you have a daughter, your daughter's first impression of a man is going to be how you treat her. Which is why you should abandon her, so that the standards are set incredibly low, so they don't end up lonely. You'll be doing them a favor in the long run. Like I said, you're like women over the age of 40, they're single and childless, like 60% more likely to attempt suicide. You're thinking in the long term here. You're playing the long game. You don't want your daughter to have such high standards that she blows her brains out at 43. That's what I call a loving father. Isn't that right, Mia?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Men,
Yes.
if you take nothing else from this show, the moment your wife tells you it's a girl, you better pack that fucking suitcase. Family values here on That Spaced with Caleb Salvatore. The next part of the dating drama here is the age gap discussion. Oh, the age gap. Caleb Hammer, the financial guru on YouTube, got into it with somebody on Twitter. Pull the first tweet up here. He said she's only 25. Someone said a 20-year-old tried hitting on me with like scared emoji or GIF. Caleb Hammer says she's only 25, or she's 25, by the way. He's referring to the person that tweeted it. Our culture has gotten very weird very quickly, so infantilized. Someone replies to him, how is it infantilized to not want to be a pedophile? Y'all, and then, of course, that person got shredded. 25 and 20 is not a pedophilic relationship, for those that needed to know. It is pedophilia, y'all. 3 years ago, they were 17, and you were 23. That is literally pedophilia. I mean, it's literally not if we're going to talk definitions, but how far are we going to play that game? How far are we going to go with that? I mean, 12 years ago, I was 18 and Mia was 17. You better lock me away. I was dating a minor. Now, we didn't know each other. we wouldn't meet for 6 more years. But at one point, she was a minor and I was an adult. And now we're married. Put the cuffs on me now. Take me down. And that wasn't the only person. That wasn't some fringe weirdo. There's more tweets. Pull them up. What does a 25-year-old have in common with a 20-year-old? There's another. What do I have in common with a 20-year-old at 25? Also, this is not what infantilizing is. Not everyone wants a 5+ year age gap. Now, it's perfectly fine to not want to date someone that's a couple years younger than you. Now, 35 and 30 isn't really a big deal, but 25 and 20, yes. Those are 2 different stages of life. But this idea that someone is a creepy weirdo or a pedophile or whatever because they're dating another consenting adult whom they met when they were an adult. Now, had they met when he was 20 and she was 15, by the way, that person's math was wrong. I just realized that. 25 and 20 is 5 years, not 3. But had they met when he was 20 and she was 15, that would be different. That would be a grooming situation. But now they're both adults. You can argue that brains aren't developed until whatever age, but society has to have an arbitrary line where we say this is okay and this is not. You can have whatever opinion you want on it, but that person is not a pedophile. And if we're going to get to this, because you see like these age gap posts where people just think any age gap beyond 2 years in a relationship is predatory, and it's almost always when it's the man that's older, and they're just weirdos. And I'm like, this is why you guys are alone. Yes, I mean, it is easier to date somebody that is closer to your age because you have more in common. You have similar life experiences. Your upbringings were probably more similar. Your social circles probably intertwined. All that good stuff. But the older people get, the less it matters. I mean, really, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, I don't know. The age gap thing is just like I think we need to find better things to care about than the relationship between consenting adults. Because that's the thing, is these people that are spurging out about age gap relationships will be the first one to defend same-sex couples. And they'll tell you it's none of your business what consenting adults do in their bedroom, which I agree with, but that's a two-way street. The last one is perhaps the most controversial in the dating scene blow up here. This last one is on one of those dating shows, and this girl came out and she gave her hobbies, which seemed pretty innocuous in the beginning, and the audience didn't respond the way a lot of, or not the audience, the men in the dating crowd probably didn't respond the way a lot of people thought they should have. Check this video out. We'll give our takes on it in a second.
Okay, I'm Riley. I'm 24. I'm from Houston, Texas. And honestly, I'm down for any good adventure. I just got scuba dive certified and I'm planning to go to Australia this summer, so I'm super excited about that. And then I just picked up skiing like 2 years ago, and I honestly love any themed party. Like, those are like my favorite things to go to, my favorite things to plan. And I'm looking for someone that wants to be my adventure buddy, and it's someone that I can trust in and is going to be there for me.
Aww.
If any gentleman would like to get to know Riley more, please step forward.
They're nervous.
They're
Come on,
scared.
guys.
Ooh, they're so
Anyone.
scared.
Come on.
Hey, Riley, we're gonna have you sit down, but thank you for introducing yourself.
Who had a worse day? Her or that professor that had to go tell his students he was on the Epstein list? Mia, why do you think nobody stood up? To say justice for Riley, I want to hear why you think nobody stood up when they asked if anyone was interested in getting to know her. Before I tell everybody what I think, I want to see if we have the same opinion here.
I don't know. Well, it's hard because I'm looking at it from a girl's perspective. I'm not looking at it from a guy's.
Which is why your input is even more valuable.
Well, see, for me, I'm just thinking I would like to be friends with her. She seems like a very sweet person I would like to be friends with.
Mm-hmm. Friends.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the turnoff was.
Yeah, see, I don't know what guys are looking for is the problem. I truly don't know.
She does seem like a sweet person.
Like, to me, she just seems like a really sweet and fun person. Like, she seems like someone I'd have fun with,
Right.
But I don't know how to look at it from a guy's perspective. So enlighten me, because I don't
There
know.
is a red flag there that I don't think a lot of people pay attention. A lot of people know about. And I think a lot of men have subconsciously thought this, but have never outright said it because they don't want to be called misogynist or controlling or whatever. But there was a red flag there. And it's often overlooked when we talk about this. But when you see, as a man, if you are looking for a long-term partner, not someone to have fun with, a long-term partner, which is what the people on these shows are typically there for, it is a major turnoff, and the men in the audience will agree with me, but it is a major turnoff when they are big into traveling. When that is a central part of their identity and their personality is traveling. And the reason that's a turnoff is because what that says to somebody is, I am not happy staying in the same place. I'm not happy where I'm at. I need to bounce around and have new experiences and all. And it's perfectly fine to enjoy traveling. But when traveling becomes a central part to your identity, to where you're not really happy if you're at home, that's where the concern strikes, because it's like, yeah, how long is it going to be until you're not happy with me? Because that's someone that typically struggles internally. I love to go places. I love to travel. I love to go on vacation and see new places. But I love sitting at home more than that. Like, there's some times, like, I have this house, I've paid for it. I'd like to just sit here and enjoy it. I am content with where I'm at in life. That doesn't mean I never want to go anywhere again, but I'm okay staying where I am. I don't need to go somewhere else to be happy because I have the things I need to be happy here. And what that says to men, and probably women when they hear a man say that too, but I'm not going to speak on behalf of women. I even if I wanted to identify as one, I would still be a man, as we've talked about earlier on in the show. What that says to men is that there's something internally that's missing. And until you found, contrary to what the romance novels tell you, until you found that missing piece to yourself, until you figured out who the fuck you are and what makes you happy and how you can just be content being in one place, you're not ready to have a partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the turnoff, is when you see these girls, I'm into traveling. Well, it's kind of like saying I like music. I like food. Everyone likes music. Everyone likes food. What kind of, everyone likes to go on vacation. It's not really a personality trait. It's a generic thing, It doesn't tell anybody about you. But when it becomes a central part to your identity, it tells people that you are not content with any one person, place, or thing. That's what the problem is, and that's why it's such a turnoff to those guys. So that's the dating game, explained by me. I think we need to do that show where I bring single people on and I ask them why. I've got a couple candidates in mind. I'm not going to tell you on the air, but I'll tell them to you off air, and you're going to love them. A couple candidates in mind where we can figure out why they're single. Do you want to help me with this? You want to be in here or just me when we interview these people?
Just you.
Just me? See, I was thinking we could do like Jesse and Amber Gemstone
Oh no.
and just sit here and counsel people.
No.
No?
No.
You don't want to interview the singles with me? And figure out what's going on and give them advice? Oh, I bet we'll get some travelers in here. You know what I mean? It would be like, it's like Caleb Hammer does financial audit where he breaks down people's finances and talks about all the terrible things they're doing with their money. I could sit here and do one-on-one in-depth interviews with these people and figure out why they're single, and I could yell at them and scold them about why they're single and what they're doing wrong. I think it'd be a great idea. I think that might be an angle for it. I'm spitballing live on air here. Let me see. Can I do... We'll do two more and we'll get out of here. College graduate unemployment is at 9.3%, the highest it's ever been. If you're a college graduate, there's a 10% chance you don't got a gig. And what sucks is you probably got like 80 grand in student loan debt on top of it. Why? What's happening? Why? Because here's the thing. And when we talk about people that are politically radical are being made right before our very eyes. Why are these people unemployed? Well, they were told if you go to college and you check all the boxes, you're going to have you're not going to be a multimillionaire, but you're going to have an okay life. You're going to be, you're not going to be worrying about where your next meal's coming from. You're not going to be maxed out on credit cards, paycheck to paycheck. And that was a lie. It was a lie that was told to them by people who went to college, were maxed out on credit cards, and living paycheck to paycheck. It is a broken system. It teaches people outdated information at an insanely high markup where they could be getting valuable experience in the workplace. The first 2 years of college are absolutely worthless. You're basically taking extended versions of the classes that you were taking in high school. English, math, history, things like that. If you're not a major in those things, why in the fuck are you taking them? And I'll tell you this much. There is a trend in business, and this has been going on for a while now, where a college degree in some industries actually works against you. I know people that if they've got one candidate who's got a college degree and another one who was in the military or went straight into the workforce or the trades or whatever, they're more likely to hire the guy without the degree because the guy with the degree is going to come in and he's going to want more money, and he's going to think he's entitled to just climb the ladder and jump over everybody else because he did what he was supposed to do. And that's the problem, is you've got these people. I mean, I've literally had friends tell me, unemployed friends tell me with 4-year college degrees, I'm not taking XYZ job for XYZ pay because I should get more because I have a college degree. Well, sweetheart, right now you're getting 0. So why don't you get a number that's above 0 and pay your bills, and then you can go worry about finding a job that'll pay you for your fancy piece of paper. How about that? I mean, we talked about this a while ago. Had either of us finished our major in college, had either of us not dropped out of college, we would be substantially worse off than we are right now. That's just an objective fact. Had we finished our college degrees, Mia and I, and I've never told you guys this, had we finished our college degrees, and we would have twice as much debt and be making about a third as much money. We would own no property. We would have no prospect of ever owning a family owning a family. Oh my God, no, we're not slave owners. Not the 1800s. Having a family without going into crippling credit card debt. I mean, we would be a disaster had we gone and finished college. It is unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or something that actually requires a degree, we're getting to a point where college might actually be the worst investment you can make. The worst investment you can make. Because it may get you better prospects when you go to apply for a job, but is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it $90,000 worth of debt better? The answer is probably no. So you've got these people that were told this is the way, and you see that this is why people like Mamdani out in New York City get elected. This is why you see Zoran Mamdani out in New York City, these radical
the
extremists.
man benches 35 pounds.
This is why you see people like that get elected. Man benches 35 pounds. Get elected because you've got people that have been told, hey, just go with the flow. The status quo says go to a 4-year college, get your degree, go out into the workforce, and just pay your bills and start your family, do your thing. And they did that first step, and it didn't work for them. They're working at Starbucks right now. So the system didn't work. So they want to unravel the system. The best counter to political extremism is a healthy middle class. We don't have that right now. You got people that got duped, that the game changed halfway through their college careers. And they don't know what to do. Now, I think there's a couple ways to fix this. Number one, when we talk about the affordability of college, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to get the government out of student loans. Or at the very least, limit what they will give a loan for. Because here's the thing. If you go to, let's say we get the federal government totally out of student lending. Because if you look at when the federal government's role in student lending increased back in the Carter administration and the price of college beginning to skyrocket, they kind of correlate. Obama really kicked us off. That was when it got bad. But let's say the federal government's totally out of student loans. It's all private. You can either pay for it out of pocket or you can go to the bank and get a loan. Nobody's backing anything up. Nobody's guaranteeing anything. Let's say a 19-year-old kid walks in to Wells Fargo Bank and says, I'm going to go to college. I want a loan. And Wells Fargo goes, okay. What's your major going to be? And he goes, I want to be a gender studies major. She goes. She's got her pink hair and her septum ring and all that. And Wells Fargo goes, okay, well, we're looking at the average salary of a gender studies major here, and it says $32,500 a year. I just made that number up. Your college is going to cost $60,000 a year. That's going to be $240,000 before we've even applied interest. Wells Fargo's not going to give you that loan. They're not going to give a loan that won't be paid back, but the federal government will. They'll trap you in debt for the rest of your life. If you walked into Wells Fargo and said, hey, I want to buy this house. It's a $300,000 house. Payments with insurance and taxes is going to be like $2,500 a month. Okay, how much do you make in a month? $2,800? They're not going to give you that loan because you're not going to be able to pay it back. If we get the federal government out of student lending and we let the banks handle it and we privatize it, a lot of these bullshit majors are going to go away, which means that flooding the market with college students is going to stop, which means that the prices will naturally go down at supply and demand. Banks also aren't going to give an 18-year-old kid with no credit, no cosigner, and no collateral $40,000 a year. So these colleges are going to have to lower their prices. And the colleges can either lower their prices or they can go out of business. You want me to be completely honest? If 2/3 of the colleges in this country went out of business tomorrow, it would be a net positive for this country. The second thing we got to do is we got to stop telling these kids that it's college or bust. We got to stop telling these kids that they're going to be digging ditches or greeting people at Walmart or working at the gas station if they don't go to a college, because that's bullshit. That is a lie. It is a lie perpetuated by the educational industrial complex. These people that have been in academia their whole lives, these teachers, because they're forever children that couldn't cut it in the private sector. And they want to tell you to go make the same mistake they did. Go get a business degree. That's the dumbest. Why? Why should you get a business degree? What would be a better use of 4 years of your time? Learning from somebody who actually owns a successful, thriving business, or taking classes at a community college for a business degree? Let me let you guys in a little secret. If the professor teaching your business courses knew what the fuck he was talking about and knew dick for shit about owning a business, he would be owning a business, not teaching a class about it, because the first one is way more profitable. Oh, I just broke the whole college scam right there. 9.3% unemployed. Stop going. Stop sending your kids to these communist brainwashing camps, because that's the other thing that happens, is you send these kids in there and they just get brainwashed. They get brainwashed to believe that the world is out to get them and everyone's an oppressor and it's all just doom and gloom. And they come out with not just a bunch of debt, with not just a bunch of useless information they've learned, but a jaded view of the world. And it doesn't mesh well. You send these young kids to college, they get taught to hate everybody that's straight, white, and Christian. And then all of a sudden they got to go out and work for people that are straight, white, and Christian, and they don't know how to interact with them. They become difficult to deal with, and people just don't want to put up with this, so they fire them. And the only place they'll take them is fucking Starbucks. And now they riot and unionize against Starbucks. Because God forbid they work more than a 3-hour shift. This starts at home, though. This starts with you as a parent telling your kid when they're 10 or 11 years old, and maybe not actively discouraging it, but letting them know that, hey, you don't have to go to college to be successful, to have a good life. There are some cases where it may help. There are other cases where it will hinder you. There are some cases where going through the first 20 years of your adult life with the $75,000 ball and chain around your ankle are a hindrance to you and not of any use. What are you going to say?
That's why you leave your kids.
What?
I said, so that's why you leave your kids.
That's why you abandon the kids, so that they can have a healthy view of relationships. Absolutely. Yes, that is why you do it. But no, it's serious. It starts with you guys having these conversations with your kids. Having these conversations. Because here's the problem. When you see a lot of these parents pressuring their kids to go to college, it's for one of two reasons. Number one, they fell for the scam. They're just totally involved in the matrix. They took the blue pill and they genuinely believe it. They've been brainwashed their whole lives too. This is what we did. This is what you got to do. This is how you become successful. The other one's a little bit darker, and it's a keeping up with the Joneses thing. Oh, well, the Richardson's kid is going to Creighton University. I need my kid to go there. Yes, it's a degree he could get at the community college for $3,000 in 4 years, but I'll be damned. If I don't have my child going to the same college as the Richardsons, they're going to look down on us like we're poors. What do you mean my child wants to go into the trades? We're not peasants. Meanwhile, they make, between the two of them, $100,000 a year, and they're maxed out in debt, up to their eyelids, living paycheck to paycheck like their college life is so great. Stop pushing the scam. You're not doing your kids any favors. We got one more, then we're getting out of here. It's the most unhinged story I've seen all year. The most unhinged story I've seen all year. I had to triple check to make sure this was not satire. This is from the New York Post. Parents should ask their babies for consent before they change their diaper. This is a serious article from the New York Post. It's a move that might stink to some parents, but there's a new age way to change a newborn's undies. Drenched diapers are no longer messes that need to be ripped off a baby's bottom, according to new advice by early childhood development researchers in Australia. Instead, the experts encourage moms and dads to request an infant's consent before changing their diaper. At the start of a nappy change, ensure your child knows what is happening. Get down to their level and say you need a nappy change, and then pause so they can take it in. But their offbeat directives for cleaning the child's area, a task that parents often rush to just get done, the researchers said, don't end there. Then you can say, do you want to walk or crawl with me to the changing table, or would you like me to carry you? Said the specialist, seemingly ignoring the newborns can't actually yet chat up mom or dad one-on-one. Observe their facial expressions and body languages to check if they understand what is happening. This can be a time to help children learn about consent and how their bodies work. So you have to ask your children for consent to wipe their bottoms. That's what we're pushing now. I think they're missing a critical point, which is that children can't consent to anything because they are children. Their brains are not fully developed yet. That is what we as a society have decided. This pedophilic dog whistle that these elites and liberal nutcases are pushing, whether it's intentional or not, is so abundantly clear here. Ask your kid for consent to... So what if the kid says no? Mia, what do we do if the kid says no?
Just leave them in their stinky diaper.
Let them walk around and shit all... No, you abandon them so they can understand what a healthy view of relationships looks like. You just let them walk around in the diaper all day, in their own, wallow in their own shit. Brilliant. This was in Australia, so it doesn't affect... How much taxpayer money went into that study? How much did the people... That's my question. How much did the people of Australia pay for a bunch of limp-dicked loser academics to sit around in a circle jerk room and decide if children should be able to consent to having their butts wiped? How much did you guys pay for it? If the answer was more than $0, it's too much. I just wanted to end on that one. It was so stupid. I wanted to talk about it. Okay. We got to do our positive news story here. What's going on in the positive world here?
So this week we have so do you know Norwex, the company Norwex?
No.
So it's it's like a multi-level marketing company, but they sell cleaning supplies.
It's a pyramid scheme?
Yeah, so our towels, our hand towels, the gray ones, they're from Norwex.
You're not selling those, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. But the CEO of Norwex was in Omaha. And so there was, while she was at the airport, there was a dad with his kid there, and he was checking in his bags and stuff. And he ended up having to buy a ticket for his kid because he found out he had to buy a ticket for his kid because the kid was 2, and when he purchased the ticket, the kid was 1.5 years and he thought it was 3. So he just misunderstood. So he was gonna have to buy a ticket, and it was $700 for the ticket.
What?
Yeah.
The fuck were they going? Mars?
And so he was freaking out, and he couldn't afford to get it.
No, nobody can.
Yeah, most people can't just afford
No, if
to
you
get
told me,
$700.
hey, it's gonna be an extra. If you told me it's gonna be an extra $70, I'd roll my eyes all right, whatever. Who can afford to just pay an impromptu $700?
Right? And it's a 2-year-old. It was gonna be sitting on his lap.
Right.
And I mean, I get it.
You know what?
He
I
didn't
would
have a
ship the
choice.
kid on his own flight on Spirit. $40 round trip. We're gonna get there.
But anyways, yeah, so he was at the airport, couldn't get the ticket, and then the CEO of Norwex came up to the ticket stand and she bought him his ticket.
Oh, what a gal.
Yeah, so that's her
Yeah.
there buying him his ticket at Epley.
In exchange for him signing up.
He had to sign up and then sell to people under him.
We made that part up. It's not true.
But yeah, so that's her. When I first saw the story and I saw the beginning of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be like she did something bad. Like, you know, of
Yeah.
course it's a CEO of a pyramid scheme, but
Yeah.
it's very sweet.
That's great. I love it. I love it. That was very, you know what? Not all the pyramid scheme people are bad. And some of the products are good.
Yeah, their products are actually very good.
I like
we have
those
a couple
towels.
of them. Yeah, we
They
have
are
a few of them. They're
the
pretty
best towels I've ever had.
good. And Scentsy, we have some Scentsy products
Scentsy
too.
is solid.
My brother fell for a couple pyramid
He
schemes.
didn't do the sales though. He just bought the stuff.
No,
right?
he just bought the stuff
Yeah.
from the pyramid scheme.
What are the other ones? What are the other pyramid schemes out there?
Oh,
There's Avon.
There's Avon.
My mom sold Avon.
There's LuLaRoe. They did leggings.
I remember the LuLaRoe.
Yeah, there's.
What's the sex toy one?
I don't know.
They do like the sex toy parties. A friend of mine's
Yeah.
wife got into that.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what they're called. Pampered Chef. We have a couple things from Pampered Chef we got for our wedding.
Do we?
Yeah. My cousin sells it, so we got it.
Oh.
She was just probably trying to get rid of it.
It wasn't on the registry, I'm assuming.
No, it wasn't on the registry. But I mean, there's some good things out there. It's just you don't want to become part of actually selling it.
No. Yeah, here's the advice, guys. When you go, if somebody comes to you and they tell you about a job opportunity where you're going to make all this new money and you're going to be your own, this is the big red flag. You're going to own your own business. You're going to be an entrepreneur. Immediately cut off all communication with that person. If you're stupid enough to get to the so-called interview and you walk into the interview and that room consists of more people than just yourself and the interviewer, and you look at all these other people that are sitting around to be interviewed, quote unquote, leave. If you still don't heed my advice and they begin doing some presentation rather than interviewing you, leave, get to your car, drive your car into your garage, close the door, and let it run until you die because you're a fucking idiot who's not going to be able to survive because I've warned you twice now and you ignored both warnings.
I almost fell for one time.
You almost fell for one? Which one was
Yeah.
it?
I can't remember what the specific one was. It was like in college. It was like a smoothie one.
Oh.
And it's like this girl messaged me on Instagram and she was like, "Hey girly, like I have this opportunity for you, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds amazing." And I
Yeah.
showed my friend Maury, I showed my
Don't say her name.
yeah, I showed my friend and she's like, this isn't real. Don't do this. And I was like so close to like actually like talking to this girl about it and I almost fell for it. Well, I did fall for it, but I didn't go through with it.
When I was in high school, I had a friend text me. He goes, "Hey, do you want to make some extra money?" And I'm like, "Sweet, we're going to go sell drugs," right? So I get like excited and he's like, "All right." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude." So he calls me and he's like, "All right, man, I got into this new ground up business opportunity." And first time I'm thinking, we're 16. What are you talking about? And he's like, "So I'm selling these energy drinks," is what he tells me. I go, "Okay." And he's like, "So do you know how a pyramid works?" And I'm like, I let him do his spiel and I go, "Brother, that is a pyramid scheme." And he goes, No. They said you'd say that. I'm like, okay, they've loaded your lips with words. In the event I accuse you of running a pyramid scheme, it's a pyramid scheme. And I told them at the end, I'm like, "Look, man, I'm not going to do this. I support you and I want the best for you. I want you to make a bunch of money in this venture. But word of advice, when you call the next person, do not open up with, 'Do you know how a pyramid works?' That would be the best way to grow your business or whatever this is." I had a friend who was he was in the military and he'd just gotten back And he had a job, and he was all right with it. He was looking for something permanent. And he meets a guy at the mall who's first red flag. If somebody wants to interview you and they can't, and they want you to do it at the mall or a food court or something like that, huge red flag. Group interviews, also a red flag. I'm just giving free game to people now. Group interviews, also a red flag. They can't respect your time enough to get you one-on-one. They don't respect you enough to employ you, period, end of story. But if they're meeting you anywhere and they're telling you about their company and they're not at the company, red flag. And he's like, hey, we'd love to hire veterans. You know, he's all this supportive stuff about how he was a veteran. He probably wasn't. So he goes to this interview, walks in. There's a bunch of people in a rented office space. And you got these guys up front with the PowerPoint presentation, just like I told you. And they turn it on. And the first slide in this PowerPoint presentation, I shit you not, is about how the federal government needs to lighten restrictions on multi-level marketing schemes. So my friend gets up and just leaves. If you're at a place where they're doing chanting, you are working for a pyramid scheme. Those guys that sling cell phone plans at Target and Costco and Walmart are being scammed. I tell them that every time I see them. Sir, who's your phone provider? You work for a scam organization. Find a new job. They're taking advantage of you. You could go work at McDonald's and make more money than those guys do working for those scam phone companies. Dead serious. I remember one time we were there, or I was there by myself, and the guy comes up, sir, who's your current phone provider? And I went, not interested, thank you. I was at Target. And I go and I look at something else, and I can hear around the corner there was a girl there that must have been the manager for this sales company. And I hear her coaching him. And she's sitting over there, and she's like, you could have been more assertive and, gotten straight to the point when you talk to him and given him all these tips on how he could have closed me out. What they don't realize is there's no situation where he could have closed me out. He could have pointed a gun at my head and I wouldn't have bought this product. So she's giving him all these tips, and I hear her and I'm just getting a laugh out of it as I'm looking. She doesn't realize I'm one aisle over. So I come over and they're both standing there and they're waiting. And I go, make sure she was in earshot. And I go, by the way, there's nothing you could have done to sell me that product. And I just walk away. And she must have felt so stupid. I just gutted her. If she were a man, I would have castrated her in front of her employee because there was nothing they could have done to sell me that. Anyway, I hate pyramid schemes. They are a scourge on society. If you are in one, stop being in one. If you are the leader of one, stop being the leader of one. And tune into our show on Wednesday. We are not going to have a show next Saturday. No Saturday show. We're off for Thanksgiving weekend. It's because we record Wednesdays. Wednesday's the night before Thanksgiving. I got family coming into town. We will be off Thanksgiving weekend. So no unless I get some last second interview that I'm going to pre-tape before then. We will not have a show next Saturday. I don't even know what day Saturday is. The 29th. No show. No show. Don't get mad at me. There'll be a Wednesday show, though. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.